The paradox seems to be, as Socrates demonstrated long ago, that the truly free individual is free only to the extent of his own self-mastery, while those who will not govern themselves are condemned to find masters to govern over them. Hey guys, today we're taking a look at The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. This book is fantastic. The War of Art, a little play on words from the classic The Art of War. So the full title is The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. This book is absolutely fantastic, and the quote from Esquire on the front here is a really good, extremely short summary of the book. A vital gem, a kick in the ass. That's really what it is. This book is catered toward artists or in any field. So I'm a musician. That's part of the reason I read this book. I've had this recommended to me a bunch, actually, by various professors, and a lot of people I know of say this book is great. It's also great for like entrepreneurs as well, I would say, but specifically people in the creative field, so any sort of arts, musicians, film people, freelance work, all that kind of stuff is what it's tailored towards. But the whole book is about resistance, and that the idea of that feeling you have when you don't want to work on your craft, basically. I have a lot of sticky notes that I'm going to go through on this one. This book is really good. One of my favorites of this series that I'm doing for sure. I like this. The warrior and the artist live by the same code of necessity, which dictates that the battle must be fought anew every day. Every freaking day is a battle. Next quote I have underlined here is, the danger is greatest when the finish line is in sight. The professional must be alert for this counterattack. Be wary at the end. Don't open that bag of wind. That last sentence there was talking about the Iliad and the Odyssey. Kind of gives a backstory on that. Isn't that true, though? When you're close to the end, for some reason, it's like you just can't finish. You know what I mean? Like, I have that all the time when I'm so close, but I just don't want to put that final button on it because it's not ready yet, right? I don't know how many times I've personally said that. It's just not quite good enough for me to put out there, or whatever I'm doing. Resistance by definition is self-sabotage. I know I self-sabotage constantly, and a lot of you do too, probably. Everyone does it. It's weird that we do it to it's us. Why? Like, I want to be the best trumpet player in the world, okay? That's me. But I screw myself over constantly. And it's like, but I can't help myself. And I'm sure you feel the same way in the things you do too. This one is kind of like the cold hard truth. The awakening artist must be ruthless. Once you make your break, you can't turn around for your buddy who catches his trouser leg on the barbed wire. The best thing you can do for that friend is to get over the wall and keep moving. The best and only thing that one artist can do for another is to serve as an example and an inspiration. Sometimes you have to be cutthroat as an artist. Sucks, but it's what you got to do sometimes. I've had to do that myself a few times where I just can't associate with some people anymore just because they're caught on the barbed wire, and I got to keep moving. And I'm sure it's happened the other way around too, So, anyways, I found this interesting. Casting yourself as a victim is the antithesis of doing your work. Don't do it. That kind of made me think of the book Extreme Ownership back there. Great book. Check out my review of it. But everyone's got their own life to live. Everyone has problems. Some people have more problems than others. And there's definitely truth in that. I'm not gonna sit here and say that's and not true, but it is what it is. Don't have the victim mentality. Own it. I read that book if you want more on that. Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink, Leif Babin. Anyways, moving on. The next one I have is the quote I opened with. Truly free individual is free only to the extent of his own self-mastery, while those who will not govern themselves are condemned to find masters to govern over them. That kind of goes into thinking about kind of working for yourself. That's what I got out of this quote. You know, you're only truly as free as you can master yourself. Those who can't figure it out need to be mastered by someone. Needs to be your master, and I want my master to be myself. So I like this one. If you find yourself criticizing other people, you're probably doing it out of resistance. So there's two things I thought of when I read that quote. Okay, so first of all, let's take it from me, criticizing other people. I do that a lot, but I'm like to think I'm pretty good at not saying it to their face, unless it's genuinely to help them, because that's different too, and that's good. But in my opinion, that's a good thing to do. But when you do that, check yourself. Jealousy is powerful. There's a lot of people who play trumpet better than me who are a lot younger than me. And that can be bothersome. And then I can pick apart how they're playing or whatever. This is just an example from me. But isn't that interesting? I've never said anything to anyone, though, just because I think that's not constructive. Unless it is constructive, then I'll say something. But the other way to look at it is other people doing it to you. All the, especially in the world we're living in, all the hate comments and all that stuff. Sometimes you need to, get some thick skin. You have to do that anyway as an artist, but you need to understand when it's hate for hate rather than criticizing you to try and make you better, because that's good. So just remember that when you get any criticisms or when people are hating on you or whatever, especially in the landscape we live in today. I like this quote a lot. Fear is good. Like self-doubt, fear is an indicator. Fear tells us what we have to do. If you're really, really afraid of taking that job interview, that means you should go for it. Right? It's so easy when you think about it like that. If you're afraid to do something, that means you really, really care about it. Go for it. The next thing I underlined was, I'll just read this whole first paragraph right here. Friends sometimes ask, don't you get lonely sitting by yourself all day? At first it seemed odd to hear myself answer no. Then I realized that I was not alone. I was in the book. I was with the characters. I was with myself. Being an artist of any kind is a lonely existence. It just is, because you need to spend so much time on your craft. And generally speaking, within the arts, it's alone. For me as a musician, you might be thinking, oh man, I'm playing with musicians all the time and blah, blah, blah. And yes, but the majority of my time is spent alone with my trumpet and myself. So if you're looking to do something like this, you have to be okay with being alone. For me, I have no really issues with that. I'm an introverted person. I'd rather be by myself than with a group of people. That's just who I am. But it can get lonely sometimes, but it's the price you pay. So, rationalization is resistance's right-hand man. Holy crap. this speaks to me, and I'm sure it speaks to everyone. Rationalization. So like, let me think of an example. You're writing a book or something like that. Your wife is 9 months pregnant. Should you really be working on that book? I don't know. Should you? That's your question to answer. And I think I underlined here too somewhere. So maybe I didn't mark it in the pages, but it says somewhere in here too, rationalization is one of the hardest resistances to overcome, because oftentimes it makes complete sense. Because let's be real, a lot of times resistance makes no sense when you're like, yeah, I'm just being stupid. But sometimes it makes complete sense. You know? I'm going on vacation in 3 days. Should I really practice trumpet right now? I don't have anything coming up. I'm not really doing anything. Is 3 days going to make a difference? Realistically, as far as trumpet goes, it's not. But mentally it is. I like this quote too. The amateur plays for fun, the professional plays for keeps. The amateur plays part-time, the professional plays full-time. This is talking about, because with a lot of fields, you can do things part-time. I could totally be like a weekend warrior with trumpet. I could play gigs on the weekend, teach a few lessons here and there, blah, blah, blah. But the professional loves it so much that he dedicates his life to it. He commits full-time. Resistance hates it when we turn pro. Whoa. And that's so true, right? So I chose trumpet. I love it so much I want to dedicate my entire life to it. If I was going in it for the money, I frickin' picked a dumbass hobby or a profession, I mean. You know, I love it so much that that's what I want to dedicate my life to. I'm not an amateur. I love it. That's what I want to do with my life. That's how I want to make a living. That's how I want to make a difference in the world. So this is a quote by Somerset Maugham, author, I believe. I'm not familiar, but he said, "I write only when inspiration strikes. Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp." That is a pro. I don't always want to practice trumpet. I really don't. But I have to get over the resistance and just do it. Sit down and do it. That's what this whole book is about. It's a kick in the ass, a vital gem, a kick in the ass, as Squire said. You just gotta do it, you know? That's the hardest part, and that's the way you'll improve most, is if you just sit down and do it, because your competitors, a lot of them don't do that. Inspiration strikes at 9 o'clock a.m. Maybe earlier, 4 a.m. This is another sad truth about being an artist. The artist committing himself to his calling has volunteered for hell, whether he knows it or not. It's hard. He has to love being miserable. It compares to the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps teaches you how to be miserable. This is invaluable for an artist. You have to learn to love discomfort. Be comfortable with discomfort. That's what an artist is. That's what being in the military is. That's what life is. Life gets easier when you're comfortable with discomfort. I also wanted to talk a little bit about this point I underlined. It's Tiger Woods. I need to read a book on Tiger Woods. I know there was that huge controversy with him, but you know, he's one of the greatest golfers who's ever lived, and so much can be learned from him. But anyways, Tiger Woods is the consummate professional. It would never occur to him, as it would to an amateur, that he knows everything or can figure everything out on his own. On the contrary, he seeks out the most knowledgeable teacher and listens with both ears. The previous paragraph was talking about him working with Butch Harmon. The greatest golfer in the world has a coach. Butch Harmon probably is not as good of a golfer as Tiger Woods, but he can teach Tiger things. Always be a student. Always have the student mentality. The professional gives an ear to criticism, seeking to learn and grow. I kind of touched on this before, but she never forgets that resistance is using criticism against her on a far more diabolical level. Resistance enlists criticism to reinforce the fifth column of fear already at work inside the artist's head, seeking to break her will and crack her dedication. So whenever you listen to criticism, you need to think of it outside of yourself. That kind of goes to The Inner Game of Tennis, another great book that I've read. It's cool reading all these books now, how they all interlock with each other. But anyways, take it for how you can improve, not for how bad you suck. The professional cannot let himself take humiliation personally. The professional endures adversity. You gotta if you're an artist. You gotta. Think of yourself as a corporation. It helps keep a healthy distance from yourself. I thought that was a cool quote. And that's so true, you know. Think of yourself like a boss. You gotta be to work at 9 a.m. or your boss is gonna be mad. Just so happens your boss is yourself, right? Have standards for yourself, set goals for yourself. If you don't perform, let there be maybe some consequences, you know. If I don't get my ass out of bed by this time, then I have to stay later at work or whatever it is, you know. Make rules for yourself. The most important thing about art is to work. Nothing else matters except sitting down every day and trying. That's true with anything in life. Every day is not easy. Most days are going to be hard, actually. Just gotta sit down and do it. We come into this world with a specific personal destiny. We all have a job to do, a calling to enact, a self to become. If we were born to paint, it's our job to become a painter. It's your job to follow your dreams. It's your job. Everyone in this world has a destiny. It doesn't have to be this grand thing either. You can have a destiny to be a mom. You can have a destiny to be a plumber. Follow your destiny, what you want to do. That's what I'm doing. I actually went to school. So I just graduated. I got a degree in trumpet performance. But it took me a little longer. I went to school for 5 years because that first year I actually went to be a pastor. I went there for 1 year and I didn't fall away from faith or anything along those lines. It just wasn't my destiny. It wasn't what I was supposed to do. That's not my place on this earth. That's how I felt. That's why I switched. I like this quote too. The artist cannot look to others to validate his efforts or his calling. If you don't believe me, ask Van Gogh, who produced masterpiece after masterpiece, never found a buyer in his whole life. Bach was the same way. He didn't gain fame until after his death. The artist must operate territorially. He must do his work for its own sake. Do it for its own sake. That's kind of this YouTube channel for me. I don't really get that many views. No one really watches it, but I feel like I have to do it. Is it art? Yeah, it is. Is it? I'm still trying to get better and better at it. But, you know, I like to create things, and this is just another outlet for me, and I just feel like I have to do it. Whether this view gets 6 views or 6,000 views, I just feel like I have to do it, you know? This is a good question to ask yourself if you're questioning, is this my destiny, blah, blah, blah. Adam, you're telling me my destiny. I don't know my destiny. Well, pick something and then answer this question. If I were the last person on earth, would I still do it? If the answer is yes, you found your destiny. I'll just end off with this quote here. We must do our work for its own sake, not for fortune or attention or applause. Do it as an offering to God. The work comes from heaven anyway. Why not give it back? We are servants of the mystery. We were put on earth to act as agents of the infinite, to bring into existence that which is not yet, but which will be through us. Every breath we take, every heartbeat, every evolution of every cell comes from God and is sustained by God every second. Let the work come through us and give it back freely to its source. That, in my opinion, is as true to reality as it gets. This book is fantastic. One of, if not my favorite book that I've read so far. It's up there with Extreme Ownership. It's one of those two. This is a fantastic book. If you are an artist or anything like that, please do read it. The writing is fantastic. I'll just touch briefly. The only thing I didn't love about this book was it was written very chunky, I guess. It's very short spurts. It seemed like Twitter. You know, there's little sections like on every single page. And, you know, if you're a tree hugger, a lot of blank space is throughout this book. It's a short read. It's 162 pages. You could probably cut out almost 50 pages though, because of all the white space that was left over. But I mean, it was kind of cool. The book is split up into 3 different parts as well. Just various ways to look at resistance there. But it's written fantastically. I love this book. Steven Pressfield has written a few other books. I think this was his first nonfiction book. He's written a lot of fiction here. But if you're an artist, entrepreneur, this is a must-read. It is a great book, especially if you're feeling kind of like you're not getting anywhere, you need to get moving. This is a kick in the ass that you might just need. So, excellent book. Well-deserved spot on my shelf. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a big old thumbs up. Helps me out a ton. Subscribe, bell button, so you don't miss any other videos. Comment below any other book recommendations you have for me. I'm always looking for new books to read. So with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.